this party for me!
Oh. The most profitable animated franchise in Nickelodeon history was created by a marine biology teacher who used a comic book about tide pools to teach children about sea creatures. He was not a career animator. He was not a comedy writer looking for his next project. He was a man who loved the ocean, loved teaching, picked up a pencil to help his students understand marine ecosystems, and ended up accidentally building one of the most recognizable fictional universes on the planet. By 2019, SpongeBob SquarePants had generated over $13 billion in merchandising revenue. The character appears on ice cream trucks, hijabs in Egypt, bootleg goods in Mexico, and in a Broadway musical. He has been studied by academics, referenced by scientists, and named by NASA researchers as a cultural touchstone. He lives in a pineapple under the sea, and he has outlasted almost every trend, fad, and format that television has tried to push past him for 25 years. And almost none of it was supposed to happen the way it did. 12 hidden details today. Some of them will make you see the show completely differently. One of them will break your heart a little. And the one we close on is the reason SpongeBob isn't just a cartoon. It's a specific, irreplaceable statement about something human that doesn't have a better home anywhere else on television. Let's go. 12. The creator was a marine biology teacher who drew comics to teach kids.
Bring it around town, then you do.
Before any of this existed, before Bikini Bottom, before the Krusty Krab, before the Pineapple House or the jellyfishing or the boating school, Stephen Hillenburg was standing in front of a classroom at the Orange County Marine Institute in Dana Point, California, trying to find a better way to teach children about tide pools. He graduated from Humboldt State University in 1984 with a degree in natural resource planning with an emphasis on marine resources. He went to work as a marine biology teacher. He loved it. He was good at it. And he noticed, as educators often do, that the gap between what he knew and what his students were retaining was partly a question of format. The information was there. The presentation could be better. So he drew a comic book. He called it The Intertidal Zone. It featured anthropomorphic ocean creatures, tide pool animals with personalities, conflicts, and relationships that he used as a teaching tool to make marine biology tangible and interesting for the kids in his care. One of those characters was a sponge named Bob. Bob the Sponge, the first ancestor of SpongeBob SquarePants, born not in an animation studio or a writer's room, but in an educational pamphlet at a marine institute in Southern California, handed to school children as a way to remember what sea creatures actually were.
I'll see ya. SpongeBob, what are you doing sitting around?
Hillenburg eventually pursued animation, earning a master's degree from CalArts in 1992. But the show he built never left the ocean. Every creature in Bikini Bottom reflects real marine biology, the accuracy of what lives underwater. The sponges, the starfish, the octopuses, the crabs, is deliberate and documented. Hillenburg once said that his biggest nightmare was finding SpongeBob merchandise washed up on a beach because he'd spent his career trying to make people love the ocean, not litter it. He came from science, and he used science to build one of the most surreal, joyful, enduring fictional worlds in the history of American animation. 11. The name SpongeBob almost didn't exist, thanks to a mop company. This is the detail that sounds like a mistake, but was, in retrospect, one of the most fortunate accidents in the history of children's television. When Stephen Hillenburg first developed the character and pitched it to Nickelodeon in 1997, the character's name was not SpongeBob. It was SpongeBoy. The show was called SpongeBoy Ahoy. The character had a slightly different design, including a green hat that was later removed, but the essential personality was already there. Nickelodeon greenlighted a 7-minute pilot. Voice actors were brought in. Tom Kenny recorded the character's dialogue. The pilot was completed, and then the Nickelodeon legal department ran routine trademark checks and discovered a problem. SpongeBoy was already a copyrighted name. It belonged to a mop product. The pilot had to be scrapped. The name had to change. And Hillenburg faced the specific creative frustration of having to rename his central character after the work of building him was already done. His reasoning for what came next is remarkably clear. He insisted that whatever name replaced SpongeBoy had to include the word sponge. explicitly because he was worried viewers would not understand what the character was. Without sponge in the name, he feared audiences might mistake the yellow, square, porous creature for something else entirely. His specific concern, documented in production history, was that people would think SpongeBob was a block of cheese. He settled on Bob as a replacement for boy. He added SquarePants as a surname because it described the character's shape and, in his words, had a nice ring to it. SpongeBob SquarePants, the name that defines a generation, recognized on every continent, known to children who have never spoken a word of English, almost didn't exist because a mop company got there first. 10. The pitch was made with a fish tank and a Hawaiian shirt.
Okay, now what do you do next?
Floor it?
Yes. No!
In 1997, Steven Hillenburg walked into a Nickelodeon conference room to pitch a cartoon about life under the sea. He was prepared. He had thought carefully about how to make executives feel what he felt when he looked at marine life. Not the charts and taxonomy of the classroom, but the strangeness and beauty and humor of it. He wore a Hawaiian shirt. He brought a recording of Hawaiian music to play in the background, and he placed a filled fish tank, an actual aquarium with real water, real decorations, and model figures of the characters on the conference table in front of the assembled executives. He described each creature in the tank, what kind of animal it was, what personality it had, how it fit into the world of Bikini Bottom. He was essentially giving a marine biology lesson inside a network boardroom, using physical props and ambient music to transport the executives away from the fluorescent office and toward the ocean floor. Then, at the end, he took a hand-drawn cartoon of SpongeBob and dropped it into the tank. He said, "By account, this is the star of your new show." The executives were not uniformly enthusiastic. There was significant concern about whether audiences would understand or respond to a cartoon set entirely underwater, populated by sea creatures rather than humans. The concept felt unusual even by Nickelodeon standards, but something in the pitch worked. The show was greenlit, and the methodology Hillenburg used to sell it, the physical environment, the music, the act of making the executives feel like they were somewhere else, was itself a preview of what SpongeBob would spend 2 decades doing to its audience every single week. He transported people to the ocean. He started doing it in the pitch meeting. 9. Nickelodeon wanted SpongeBob to be a school kid. Hillenburg threatened to walk.
Oh, wait, in this boat? Right here? Is it time already?
Get in the boat, SpongeBob!
This is the moment that could have produced a completely different show. One that most people who love SpongeBob would not recognize as the thing they actually love. When Hillenburg pitched the concept to Nickelodeon in 1997, the network's response included a creative mandate. Executives told him they would only produce the show under one condition. SpongeBob had to be a school-age child who attended school as a central part of the premise. The comparison they offered was instructive. They wanted Arnold from Hey Arnold, under the sea. Hillenburg was not interested. His vision for SpongeBob was specific and considered. The character was not a child. He was not quite an adult either. Tom Kenny, who voiced the character, later recalled Hillenburg describing SpongeBob as not quite an adult, not quite a kid. He was innocent. He was naive. He was an eternal optimist operating in a world of more cynical characters, in the tradition of Chaplin's Little Tramp or Pee Wee Herman. Making him a literal child in a literal school would have stripped that quality, would have explained it, grounded it in realistic developmental terms, made it something smaller and more ordinary. Hillenburg was reportedly prepared to walk away from the deal rather than change the character's fundamental nature. He had not come this far. From marine biology teacher to CalArts animation graduate to Rocco's Modern Life veteran, to have his creation reshaped into something generically familiar. The compromise he reached was Mrs. Puff's boating school. SpongeBob would attend a school, but a boat driving school, which was absurd, which was underwater, which had nothing to do with the conventional childhood education premise the network had requested. The letter of the demand was met. The spirit of Hillenburg's vision was preserved. SpongeBob is not a child. He has never been a child. That distinction, that specifically ambiguous quality of being cheerfully, endlessly, unmanageably naive without being childish, is the creative foundation on which everything else was built. And it survived because one man was willing to leave the room rather than give it up. If this kind of real story, the creative battles, the accidents, the moments that almost went differently, is what you're looking for. Subscribe. We do this every week. 8. Tom Kenny was written into the role before anyone else auditioned. Tom Kenny's voice is SpongeBob. That specific laugh, that specific earnestness, that specific quality of pure enthusiasm delivered with complete sincerity. It is impossible to imagine any other voice occupying the character. And there's a reason for that. Kenny didn't get the role by beating out other actors in a competitive audition. Hillenburg wrote the part with Kenny specifically in mind. The two had worked together on Rocko's Modern Life. Hillenburg as a director and writer, Kenny as a voice actor. Hillenburg had watched Kenny work and had heard, in the range of voices Kenny deployed on that show, something that matched what he imagined SpongeBob to sound like. When it came time to cast the character, Hillenburg simply called Kenny. "SpongeBob SquarePants was the easiest job I ever got," Kenny later said. "I don't think anyone else even read for the part." Kenny has also said that elements of his own personality informed the character's development, that SpongeBob's specific brand of earnest enthusiasm and social obliviousness was, in certain ways, a version of something Kenny himself brought to early discussions about the character. Kenny's worst fear, by his own account, is that someone will punch him in the vocal cords and he'll be unable to voice SpongeBob anymore. That's a specific and strange thing to be worried about, but it also tells you something about how seriously he takes the responsibility of carrying a character that has become, for several generations of children, their first experience of a certain kind of joy. He was the only one who ever auditioned for the role, because Hillenburg already knew. Coven. Bikini Bottom is based on a real place that the US government used for nuclear testing. For years, this was one of those internet theories that seemed too dark to be true, the kind of reading that creative fandoms project onto innocent source material to make it feel more layered than it actually is. It turns out it was actually true. Bikini Bottom, the underwater city where SpongeBob and his friends live, is based on a real location, Bikini Atoll, a coral reef in the Marshall Islands of the Pacific Ocean. The United States government used Bikini Atoll as the site of nuclear weapons testing throughout the 1940s and 1950s, a period during which more than 20 nuclear devices were detonated at the location, exposing the local environment and its inhabitants to extraordinary levels of radiation. The fan theory that SpongeBob and his neighbors are mutated descendants of marine life affected by that nuclear testing was, for years, contested by various people associated with the show. Tom Kenny denied it in a 2015 interview. Other cast members said they'd been telling people it wasn't true. Then, in 2024, writer Mr. Lawrence, who voices Plankton and has written multiple episodes across the show's run, confirmed in an Esquire conversation with the full cast that the Bikini Atoll nuclear testing connection was, in fact, intentional. "That is absolutely true," he said. "That was part of the fun of it. How far are we taking that concept?" A children's cartoon set in a world created by American nuclear weapons tests. The mutated sea creatures living cheerfully in the radioactive shadow of mid-century American military history. SpongeBob attending driving school. Patrick sleeping under a rock. The Krusty Krab selling mystery ingredient burgers above the ruins of the old world. It still looks like a children's show. It just also turns out to be something significantly more complicated than that. 6. Mr. Krabs was based on Hillenburg's real boss at a seafood restaurant. Of all the characters in the SpongeBob universe, Mr. Krabs stands apart from the others in a specific way. While most of Bikini Bottom's residents were built from imagination and marine biology, Mr. Krabs was built from a person Steven Hillenburg had actually worked for. Before pursuing animation, Hillenburg worked at a seafood restaurant. His manager there was, by Hillenburg's own description, a red-headed, muscular former army cook who spoke with a strong Maine accent. The kind of voice, Hillenburg noted, that reminded him of a pirate. He adapted those qualities into the character of Eugene Krabs. The red hair became the Krabs' red coloring. The muscular build carried through. The Maine accent was transformed by voice actor Clancy Brown into something with a little Scottish brogue on top of the pirate quality. And the greediness that defines Krabs as a character, the relentless, obsessive penny-pinching that drives half the show's conflicts, was Hillenburg's own addition, inserted specifically to give the character more dramatic personality. Hillenburg was explicit that Mr. Krabs is the only character in the show who was directly based on a real person from his life. Everyone else came from imagination, from marine biology textbooks, from the abstract logic of what personality types a sea creature might plausibly have. Krabs came from a memory, from a specific man who stood in a specific kitchen, in a Maine accent, making Hillenburg think of pirates. That man presumably has no idea he is one of the most recognizable characters in the history of American animation. There is something quietly extraordinary about that. 5. The cast records together in the same room and improvises constantly. Most animated television shows are recorded in isolation. Each voice actor comes in separately, records their lines against a script, and the sound editors assemble the conversation in post-production. It's efficient, it's controllable, and it produces performances that are technically accurate, but often lack the genuine spontaneity of actual conversation between people. SpongeBob SquarePants does it differently. The main cast of the show records together in the same room at the same time, a practice more common in live-action sitcoms than animation. Tom Kenny, Bill Fagerbakke, Patrick, Roger Bumpass, Squidward, Clancy Brown, Mr. Krabs, and their colleagues sit together, read the script together, and play off each other in real time. The result, as Kenny has described it, is a recording process that involves as much improvisation as scripted performance. The cast runs scenes multiple times with as many variations as they can generate.
I win!
Jokes get tried, discarded, refined, and sometimes replaced entirely by something no writer put on the page. The dynamic between the actors, the specific way one person's reading affects another's reaction, informs the performances in ways that isolated recording simply cannot replicate. Kenny has described the cast as genuinely liking each other, which is rarer in long-running productions than most people assume. We're all nice, functioning people, by showbiz standards anyway, he has said. We're functionally insane. 25 years, the same core cast, the same room, and somewhere in the difference between recording separately and recording together is at least part of the explanation for why the show's character dynamics feel real, even when nothing else about the situation is. 4. Hillenburg refused to make an adult version of SpongeBob, even when a major network offered. This is the entry that tells you something essential about who Stephen Hillenburg was and what he understood about what he had made. In 2003, Spike TV launched an animation block designed to capture the late-night, Adult Swim-style audience. They commissioned a new version of Ren and Stimpy that was more sexually explicit and adult in its content, and they approached Stephen Hillenburg with a proposal: make a similarly adult-oriented version of SpongeBob SquarePants for a mature audience. Hillenburg refused, not reluctantly, not after extended negotiations. He refused outright. He said no to the money, no to the prestige, no to the expanded audience, no to everything the offer represented. His position was clear. SpongeBob was not an adult show wearing a children's costume.
Here we are, girls.
It was a genuinely all-ages show, one that could be appreciated by college students and parents and grandparents, but not by stripping away the innocence and replacing it with something gratuitous. Nickelodeon backed him up completely. The network agreed with his refusal and declined to sell the rights. This matters for a reason that goes beyond one rejected offer. Throughout the show's history, there have been recurring pressures, from merchandise, from spin-offs, from network interests, to expand SpongeBob into forms that would have diluted what it actually was. Hillenburg consistently resisted these pressures. He understood that the show's power came from its specific tone, its specific innocence, its refusal to be cynical, and that the moment you traded that away for something edgier or more commercially flexible, you'd have lost the thing that made it worth watching. He was right. And the fact that he was right about it, repeatedly over the course of 2 decades, is itself a form of creative vision that very few people in television ever sustain. 3. The show's moral architecture is actually ancient. Most people who watch SpongeBob experience it as absurdist comedy. Funny characters, weird situations, non-sequitur humor, surreal visual gags, which it is. But underneath all of that is a moral structure that Hillenburg built deliberately and that operates with remarkable consistency across hundreds of episodes. Hillenburg described his central concept to the Associated Press in 2001 with unusual clarity. SpongeBob is an innocent in a world of jaded characters. The rest is absurd packaging. That formula, the naive innocent whose goodness exposes the flaws of the more cynical world around him, is one of the oldest structures in comedy. Hillenburg cited Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin, Jerry Lewis, and Pee Wee Herman as direct influences. What he admired in those performers was the specific pleasure of watching a well-meaning, naive character undo more cynical characters simply by being what they are. SpongeBob never becomes cynical. He never learns to protect himself from disappointment by wanting less. He fries his Krabby Patties with total commitment, pursues his boating license with genuine hope, offers his friendship to Squidward with unfailing generosity, despite Squidward's unfailing rejection. He is the same person at the end of every episode that he was at the beginning. In most storytelling, that would be a flaw, a static character who doesn't grow. In SpongeBob's case, it's the point. His unchanging optimism is not naivety as a weakness. It's optimism as a moral position, a refusal to be made smaller by a world that keeps trying to make him smaller. Hillenburg said he thought that was why kids like the show, maybe even why adults like the show, adults who wish they were still kids. He was probably right. But it's also why the show functions as something more than entertainment. It's a sustained argument in cartoon form that joy is not immature, that enthusiasm is not embarrassing, that caring is not weakness. SpongeBob is the happiest person in Bikini Bottom. He has the worst job, the most frustrating neighbor, and a boss who actively exploits him. He is happy anyway. That is not an accident. That is a philosophy. 2. Hillenburg watched SpongeBob become bigger than he could imagine and never forgot what it was. 4. There is a particular kind of success that changes the person who achieves it. The commercial machinery surrounds the original thing. The licensing deals and the merchandise and the spin-offs and the sequels all begin to speak louder than the original intention. And somewhere in that noise, the person who made it can lose track of why they made it. Hillenburg did not lose track. In 2009, 10 years after the show premiered, he told the Washington Post, "I never imagined working on the show to this date and this long. It never was possible to conceive that. I really figured we might get a season and a cult following, and that might be it." He saw SpongeBob on ice cream trucks. He found bootleg merchandise from Mexico. He saw the character on hijabs in Egypt. He was surprised every time, not because he was naive about the show's success, but because the scale of it remained genuinely astonishing to a man who had started by drawing tide pool animals for school children in Dana Point, California.
Okay, Patrick, you can pick first.
He was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, in 2017. He announced the diagnosis publicly and continued working. He died on November 26, 2018, at 57 years old. Nickelodeon's statement after his death said, "His utterly original characters and the world of Bikini Bottom will long stand as a reminder of the value of optimism, friendship, and the limitless power of imagination." He had spent his career teaching people to love the ocean. He had done it with a comic book first, then a cartoon second. The cartoon outlasted anything he could have planned. The ocean, for better and worse, remains. 1. What SpongeBob is actually about. And here is the thing that takes you 25 years of watching to fully see. SpongeBob SquarePants is a show about joy as a practice. Not joy as a feeling that happens to you, not the happiness that arrives when circumstances are favorable, but joy as something you do, something you choose, something you show up for every single day, regardless of what the world has given you to work with. SpongeBob works at a fast food restaurant. His boss underpays him, manipulates him, and would genuinely not care if he disappeared as long as someone else showed up to flip the patties. His neighbor despises him. His best friend is, to put it gently, not academically rigorous.
Anak, seperti yang kita pelajari minggu lalu, kita sudah mempelajari
He has tried and failed to pass his driving test an uncountable number of times. By any objective measure, his life is not going well. He is the happiest character in the show. He is arguably the happiest character in American animation, And the show never treats this as delusion. It never frames SpongeBob's optimism as the punchline. It never suggests that the more cynical characters, Squidward with his thwarted artistic ambitions, Mr. Krabs with his obsessive money worship, Plankton with his perpetual scheming, are actually right about the world. And SpongeBob is just too simple to see it. The show consistently, quietly, week after week, demonstrates that SpongeBob's way is better. Not more successful, not more respected, not more rewarded by the external world. Just better as a way of being alive. Stephen Hillenburg built that argument on purpose out of marine biology and Chaplin films and tide pool comic books and a fish tank he carried into a boardroom in 1997. He built it with Tom Kenny's voice and Clancy Brown's pirate accent and a cast of people who liked each other enough to make the chemistry feel real. He built it against Nickelodeon's suggestions and Spike TV's offers and all the commercial forces that wanted to make it into something other than what it was. He built it for the school children he used to teach in Dana Point, who needed to understand what lived in the tide pools. He built it for the adults who, as he put it, wish they were still kids. He built it because joy deserved a home that nothing could commercialize away from it. SpongeBob SquarePants has been on the air for 25 years. It will probably be on for 25 more. The world keeps trying to get him down there, under the sea. And every episode, without fail, he shows up to work on time, fries the patties perfectly, and laughs at the bubble he just blew. That's not a cartoon. That's an instruction manual. 12 hidden details. One show. And the question I'll leave you with, do you think the post-Hillenburg SpongeBob can still carry that original spirit? Or did something essential leave when he did? Drop your answer in the comments. I'll be reading. Subscribe for more of this. We'll be here next week.